This machine costs $150 and it's the perfect Linux laptop if you're on a budget. The ThinkPad T480 is a real workhorse and it can serve as your daily driver for years to come. In this video, I'm going to set this up with Linux from start to finish, but stick around till the end because I'm going to share some more advanced use cases that you didn't think of. Let's go. In this box, I have my new T480, but before I unbox this, I want to show you how I got it and how you can find these machines yourself. So when I say that these machines are only $150, I'm not lying. Let me prove it to you. Like if you go on eBay and you search for this ThinkPad T480, then yes, there are going to be a few more expensive ones, but the main ones here are around $99, $175, $150, $150, $200. The prices range based on the condition and of course the specs of the thing, but it is absolutely possible to get one of these machines for $150. Now, the one that I got is, I paid 367 euros for that. So currently that is $423. So I paid about $400 for this one. And the reason for that is because I bought a refurbished one. So here in the Netherlands, you have companies that specialize in buying up enterprise hardware and then cleaning it up, making sure everything works and freshen everything up and then resell it again to the consumers. And the one that I got then is this ThinkPad T480 that they're offering. It is actually on sale. And the reason why it's more expensive is because I upgraded the SSD and I went for 16 gigabytes of RAM. So I notched it up a little bit because this is going to be used by my friend. And I think you can get by with 8 gigabytes of RAM on Linux easily, but for only 40 bucks, for 40 euros, I could give him 16. And he's only going to be doing word processing on this thing. He's not doing any other things on it. But for the 40 euros, it's better to just have a little bit of more RAM. So that is why this one is a bit more expensive. I didn't want to bother with, I just needed this thing to be delivered to my house. And I already bought from them in the past, so I know they have good service and good quality. So that is basically how I got this one. So with that out of the way, let's do some unboxing. And as I'm opening this, let me tell you the story of why I am suddenly installing a ThinkPad. If you don't know, I spent 2 years in a Buddhist monastery and I'm in contact with the people that I got to know in that period. And many of the monks that I live with, I'm still in contact with. And the tradition of those monks is that they cannot use money. They depend entirely on other people to support them. So my friend, he asked me if I had an old laptop that he could borrow. Because he is a monk and in this tradition, you're not really supposed to be walking around with like super fancy technology. My first instinct was to buy a MacBook or something because it's so stable, but it is actually not the right thing to do. These monks, it's much more fitting for them to have something older, something that is reused, and like ideologically, this fits much better. So that is the perfect use case for a refurbished laptop. That is the reason why I am buying this. And here we go. Here we see this is how it's packaged, and the box simply includes the laptop and a charger, and that's it. So I really like how they package this, so it's not just flopping around. Next, I will just open this up. And of course, me being Misha van den Berg, I'm not going to give my friend a Windows laptop that is slow. No, we are going to get him on Linux. So this is the laptop, and as I'm unpacking this, I'm just looking at the shape of it, but it looks super nice. It is very cleaned up, and I'm also noticing it probably has a bigger, it has a bit of a bigger battery pack. So that's going to be useful for him, that it can last a longer time. So that's nice. It looks very clean. Now the reason why I love the T480 so much is because it's an older machine, but it still has an HD screen, 1080p. It just is a solid machine. Like this is built for business people carrying it around in their bags all the time. Like it's a solid piece of hardware. And let me see, can I see the serial number? No, I can't see it, but this thing is maybe 8 years old already, 5 to 10 years probably. But it's still, because I bought it refurbished, it is super clean, it's nice, but just the feeling of this thing, like it is so solid. The keyboard is nice. I mean, I love these machines. I daily drove this for years, and this is just going to be such a good machine for my friend. So let's hook up the power and let's get Linux on there. So I have my USB stick with Linux on it, and I set up a little camera here so you can see what I'm doing. And I haven't even powered this machine on before, like you're literally seeing me power it up for the first time. Adding the USB now, let's power it up and see what happens. And let's see if we can even get Linux on there before ever booting Windows. Cool, so it's starting right away. And here we go. If I just pressed enter, I could just enter the BIOS like this by pressing enter and then F1. Here we are. We are in the BIOS now. I don't see any information about when this one was created. But what we can do is we can, first of all, secure boot. We have to disable secure boot. Next, we're going to boot, and then we are going to boot from this one. So move this one all the way to the top. So now the USB is going to be the next thing that is going to boot over the Windows Boot Manager. Okay, then I press F10, save and escape. So now when it boots again, it should start booting from the USB. Here we go. Start Linux Mint. Because yeah, now I can reveal the distro that I chose. I chose Linux Mint because my friend, he is used to using Windows PCs, but also Mac, but he is not a computer power user. He's doing Buddhist translations. So he's mainly going to be processing text and working from the browser. So Google Docs is basically what he's going to be working on. And since Linux Mint has this very familiar feel with the start menu in the bottom left and your time in the bottom right, it's just a very familiar interface for people who are not like very well versed with computers. So my priority here is to get him a system that he can easily work with, that is stable, and that can also be easily updated, because he lives in Sweden, I live in the Netherlands, so I'm not able to just easily go to him and help him. I can help him remotely, but it's best if his system is as stable as possible, and that is why we are going for something like Linux Mint. Real quick, if you enjoyed watching this video so far, please click the subscribe button down below. It's a completely free way to support the channel, and it really helps me out. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. And here we go. It is already started now. And this is basically the live environment where I can test it out. And you can see already everything is functioning nicely. But here it says install Linux Mint in the top left. So I will just start that and we will follow the wizard here. So this will be a bit hard to read. I apologize, but I will do my best to just share what I'm doing. So it just says English. So I'm just choosing the language here, English US. And here it is now going to ask me to connect to a Wi-Fi network. I'm actually just going to do that right away because that means I can download the updates as I'm installing this already. Continue. It is now asking if I want to install multimedia codecs, and I'm going to say yes to that because I want just to have maximum compatibility, and if he ever wants to watch a YouTube video or something, it just needs to work. And then here it's asking me if I want to install it alongside Windows. So it detected this. So this is why this is such a good installer. And we are actually going to erase everything. Advanced. We don't need to use LVM, I think. So if you've watched any of my earlier Linux videos, you know that I'm really strict on encryption, and that you should always encrypt your drives. Now, this is the use case for this machine is for a monk that has no professional career or anything like that, and he's not storing any company data or anything, you know? And it would actually be bothersome for him to have to enter his encryption password every time, and he basically doesn't have any data that needs to be encrypted. So you always have to think about your threat model, but if you are going to be using your machine in any professional capacity, always encrypt your machine. But because I am preparing this for a ultra casual user who doesn't need any advanced features, no advanced security or privacy concerns, I'm okay with not encrypting this. So I'm just going to say no advanced features and just erase the disk and install now. That's good. It's going to create two partitions, one ESP boot partition and an ext4 partition for the rest. Nice and easy and clean and simple. So his name is Titaniano. It's his monk name. The computer's name is going to be TN ThinkPad. The username will be TN, or no, let's just do Titaniano. His password, we will require his password to log in. All right, so now Linux Mint is going to install. Okay, so the installation wizard has now finished, and it's asking me, do I want to continue testing here, or do I want to just restart? So I'll just tick the restart now button, and that is going to reboot. When it does, I will remove the USB stick. Here we go. Remove installation and press enter. So now it should boot up cleanly with Linux for the first time. And here we go. Look how clean that is. Log in. Welcome to Linux Mint. Super nice. Yep, this looks really good. Welcome to your new operating system. This is very good. And I'm going to keep showing this at startup so my friend will see this too. So the first thing I'm going to do is to install OBS on this so that I can record the screen and I can actually show you what's going on. So it doesn't have it installed yet. And actually this is one of my first time of installing anything on Linux Mint. So I'm just going to the software manager here, and this is now generating the cache and just getting all of the updates, etc. All right, so here's the software manager. And if I just simply search for OBS, then here we go. Here's OBS Studio. That's what I want. And it's actually loaded from FlatHub. So let's see how easy this is going to be to install. Clicked on OBS Studio, click install, and I accept this. So this is now installing. Okay, so the installation has now completed. And let's see if this is just going to work in one go. I click launch and boom, it's already working. I mean, this is why I choose Linux Mint for something like this. Because the person I'm giving this to is not skilled at computers, you want something that just works. So if I would have chosen something like Fedora Atomic, then there is a chance that I would have had to set up Flatpak first or something like that. But now all of this, it just works out of the box. Like this is truly made to just work without having to tinker. And for this particular use case, it's perfect. And you can see it, how smooth everything is already. So I'm just setting this up to record in 24. Apply settings. It has already detected my camera too. So if I then go to settings here we go. And then as a source, I'm just going to add the screen video capture device. So here is my camera. It's already working, but that's not the one that I wanted. We don't have to include all of that. So we will just add a display capture and capture the display, and boom, we are ready to record. So we are recording the screen on the ThinkPad now, so you can follow along with what we're doing. And basically, I'm just going to quickly check out what's going on here, but everything should already work. So the nice thing about Linux Mint is that it has this familiar start menu for people to follow around. You just have everything neatly organized here. It already includes all of the applications that we want. So for example, LibreOffice Writer, he is going to be mainly working with documents. Well, everything is already installed, and then hello world. It just works like super easily. And just as I'm moving through this, like this is an old laptop, but everything is working super quickly. Everything is super snappy. And this is just a word processor, of course. So this is not like very heavy usage, but you can see as I'm moving around that this is just super clean and fast and snappy. It is no issues at all. So even when I just go on the internet, let's check out Firefox and let's just check out if the internet is working. So this is YouTube, and let's see if we can find Misha van den Berg here, that strange guy that some people like to watch sometimes. What is his channel all about? Oh, it's about Linux. Really cool. And it seems that everything is working well. So yeah, everything is working smoothly. I can watch YouTube videos. Firefox is browsing smoothly. And it's just such a good experience for a normal user, right? And let's see, what do we have here? So here's OBS. We have Bluetooth enabled. System reports. What is that about? System information. Interesting. It's doing some system checks. Oh, you can actually launch Timeshift for automatic backups. That's already set up for you. This is the update manager. So here it will see if there are updates available. Actually, it's already showing some updates here already. So let's just update that right away. So that was the update of the actual update manager. And here it's showing all of these packages that can already be updated. So let me just do install updates and boom, look how easy that is. Like this is so perfect for someone who is not well versed on a computer and who just needs something that works. So this is why I chose Linux Mint. Everything works right out of the box. He can just go on the internet and go to Google Docs, or he can use LibreOffice. Everything he needs is on this computer, and he can install anything that he may want. So Linux Mint is definitely one of the best solutions if you just want something that works. And as you see, on a $150 machine, like this can be a proper daily driver if you're just working on the command line, if you're just doing text work. Like 90% of people don't need more than this for like administrative computer use. Like if you are stretching this to gaming. Like you can play games on this, like you can play older games. Like for normal day-to-day use, this is perfectly fine, and you can use this machine as a daily driver for a decade to come easily. As I'm using this again, like the keyboard, it is just so solid. The whole machine, the trackpad, everything works. Everything works so smoothly and solid that this is by far the favorite laptop that I would recommend if you're looking for a Linux daily driver. Now, in the beginning of this video, I mentioned I would go beyond a workstation, and that's going to be the next thing we're going to talk about, which is to use this thing as a server. You see, you can run applications on this 24/7, and you can start your Homelab with a machine like this. Like my personal Homelab started with a T420. Here it is. This is the ThinkPad T420. This was my first Linux machine. I got this machine from my brother. It was an old machine from his job, and they didn't need it anymore, so I used this to install my first Linux installation in my Homelab. And to this day, this machine is now serving as a Kubernetes node in my cluster, and it's now hosting multiple Postgres clusters, and it's still going rock solid. That's 8 gigabytes of RAM and an i5 CPU that's just running smoothly 24/7. So that's a proper server. And in fact, the other ThinkPad T480 that I mentioned, that I used that as a Linux machine for several years. Like I was actually working on that when I was a freelance Kubernetes consultant. That was my daily driver. And now it is serving as another node in my Kubernetes cluster. So people have this misconception about Homelabs and self-hosting, that you need all these expensive servers with blinking lights, etc. But the truth is you don't. You can start with something like this. So if you want to learn Linux like you do in the free Linux course that you can find linked in the description, then buying a cheap machine like this is a really good step, because you can install on it, you can run it for a while, and when you're maybe upgrading your PC, and maybe when you're upgrading to a newer machine, then you can just easily use this as a server. So you can build a complete Homelab based on these laptops alone. And that is where Kubernetes comes in. This is what I use to teach my students to land 6-figure tech jobs. If you're interested in that, you can check out the link in the description around that. But what we do there is we build a Kubernetes Homelab where we cluster together all these machines, for example, these ThinkPads, and then we build a portfolio of projects around that, fully centered around Kubernetes. And my students are landing tech jobs with this every single week. So if you're interested in that, check out the link in the description. So the ThinkPad T480 is probably the best Linux machine that you can get if you're on a budget, and you can use this as a daily driver and then later use that as a server in your Homelab. And this is basically the best budget option there is out there. And if you want to learn Linux beyond Linux Mint, if you really want to learn how to work on the command line and start working towards a tech job, then check out the link in the description below where you can find my 8-hour Linux course. It's completely for free, but I'm giving it away because I want as many people as possible to experience the joys of Linux. If you fill out your details, you will get an invite, and what you will get is over 8 hours of premium video course material, plus over 8 hours of bonus material, and I'm hosting workshops here every single week where you can ask me questions. This is the best place to learn Linux on the internet. It also comes with a community of nearly 6,000 people at this point, and it's all completely for free. Check out the link in the description below. I'm sure you'll love it because thousands of people are already working in it and loving it. Find friends to learn Linux together. Check out the link in the description below, and I'll see you in the community.